there is something that Dr. Monty said in Kino der Toten which got me thinking, and especially with his house returning now in Black Ops 7, the whole reason why it was a safe house was because it was in Argotha, safe from the influence of the Apothicons, the Undead, the Dark Ether. It was a place where the children could grow up safely, but once the house was banished into the Dark Ether, it was now in there along with all of the other evil. However, miraculously, Dr. Monty's house is still a safe house because a Shadowsmith has placed it inside of a pocket within the Dark Ether, safe from outside influence. It has always been the location which has made Dr. Monty's house special and not the house itself. And well, since its return to the story in BO7, it just got me thinking of the very first time we saw it, because if I was to ask you, depending on how far your memory can go back, you would probably say Origins or maybe Revelations if you started playing during that time. But actually, as Dr. Monty reminded us in Rev,
Kino der Toten, Theatre of the Dead. I don't know why it wasn't Untoten, but I suppose the whole living dead thing is something of an oxymoron. I like that word. Oxymoron. Been very useful when trying to identify all the contradictory chaos I've had to entangle. Anyway, Group 935 were back to their old tricks. Been in an old cinema. I don't know why. Maybe they wanted to watch some old movies. That was where you first saw the house, wasn't it? Well, part of it anyway. Samantha's room. Remember? You probably don't, but trust me. Have a look. It's there, all right.
We first saw his house and Samantha's bedroom all the way back in 2010, Black Ops 1 in Kino der Toten. And what I find cool is when I put it into perspective of how early on that was, Kino was actually supposed to be a World at War map. We pretty much saw Dr. Monty's house when COD Zombies first began, but at that time, we didn't know it. And what's really interesting to me, especially being a lore person, is we saw two different versions of Samantha's room. An evil version that was destroyed, had blood everywhere, and the window was broken, and then a normal version that we've seen plenty of times at this point. And even this normal version of her room hasn't stayed consistent. For example, in the Origins intro, it changed. And you may think, okay, this means nothing. The reason is simply because Origins came out quite a while after Kino der Toten, so there's been a bit of evolution in detail in design and graphics. But what I believe we are actually seeing in the Kino version of Samantha's room is what it looked like when she first arrived in the house and when it was just her, before Eddie came. Because if we look at the Canorium, we know Samantha came first. Sometime after, Eddie was brought to the house and the two met each other. However, in her diary, Samantha wrote that Edward did not like to share toys, and so Dr. Monty brought more toys into the bedroom for the two of them to play with. In Kino der Toten, there is a lot less toys and a lot less things in here than there is later on in Origins when both of them are here. So I don't think the simple, more plain version of Samantha's bedroom that we saw in Kino der Toten on Black Ops 1 is necessarily like this because of hardware limitations or design. Story-wise, this was what her bedroom looked like before the arrival of Eddie and before Monty brought more toys. A question that we have still not had answered over 15 years later is, why is there an evil version of her room and why was the window broken? In here we see everything is trashed. There are loads of her teddy bears on the floor and then one giant bear looking over them all bloody. And the main point of focus is the broken window. There has always been a significance with Samantha's window. In the Origins ending cutscene, we hear Dr. Maxis telling them to close it before they come down to the basement.
What's the choice of it, children? Make sure the windows are locked before you come down to the basement.
We'd better do what your dad says.
In the Zombies Chronicles trailer, we see Samantha walk into her bedroom as another version of her disappears out of existence, and she looks shocked as she notices her window has been left open before she quickly closes it. But again, why the window being closed is so important has never officially been told to us. We could come up with theories because we know Dr. Monty's house is in Argotha. In Kino, you can't see what's on the other side of the window because it's a bright white, but later on in Origins, we see a normal looking night sky and the moon, which in itself is weird, right? Because even though we know Dr. Monty is from England, Sheffield, the house, as the Canorium tells us, is in Argotha. It has to be, because as we've discussed earlier, that is the whole reason why it's a safe place, because of the location that it's in. But what I still see loads of people asking me, even to this day, is what is so important about this window? Why did Dr. Maxis tell them to shut it? Why in the evil version of her room is it broken? Why would that represent the evil? And why in the normal version is it fine? Well, the first thing you need to understand is what the alarm is for. Every time somebody enters the house through the teleporter in the basement, the alarm rings. So I guess that's a way for anyone in here to know that someone has entered the house through the teleporter as kind of a security measure. Okay, we've then got to ask, well, who is entering the house during the time of the Origins intro? Well, because it's just the two children in the house, Samantha and Eddie, that tells us this can't be happening after the Revelations intro cutscene, otherwise the other children would be here. So the alarm isn't to signify the arrival of Primus, Richtofen, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey at that point as we see them in Revelations, which means it must be ringing out because someone else has come through. Now it could be the souls of Nikolai, Takeo and Dempsey, and I think that's likely. That would mean this cutscene takes place moments after the Gorod Karovi ending, but also a little bit before the Revelations intro. There is a time gap between those two maps where this cutscene takes place, or because Dr. Maxis in this radio says they are here.
Where are they? They should have arrived by now.
Oh, Maxis, you worry too much. In fact, aside from worrying, what do you do these days? As far as I can tell, you just repeat whatever I say in radio messages. No offense, of course. It's important to feel relevant. Big fan of what you do.
Look, they're here.
Well, well, well. Sometimes free will does work out. Look at how he's used it. Trying to right wrongs instead of skulking about in the house talking into a microphone. Good call on the windows there, Max. This whole process can get a bit messy.
It could be for the arrival of Primus at a different point in time, but as far as we're aware, it was only ever Primus Richtofen that went to the house before Revelations, whereas Primus, Nikolai, Takeo and Dempsey didn't. So in my mind, at this exact point in time, the souls of Nikolai, Takeo and Dempsey are arriving through the teleporter in the house. Maxis tells them to make sure the windows are locked and come down to the basement, and Dr. Monty says, good call on the windows there, Max. This whole process can get a bit messy. But what confuses me about this is we see that process in the Revelations trailer. The soul of Nikolai arrives through the teleporter, and Dr. Monty then turns him into a child. There is nothing messy about any of this. Watching this, I can't see any reason as to why the windows would need to be locked. Maybe, and I'm just throwing this out, in other events of the cycle when it's played out, has this process gone wrong before? Have these child versions of these characters attempted to escape Dr. Monty's house through the window? Are they trying to stop someone from escaping? Or are they trying to stop someone or something from coming in? The Zombies Chronicles trailer may help us here. What you are seeing is the camera panning into Samantha in her bedroom as she's holding the snow globe. Funnily enough, the same snow globe that is a very big part of the Black Ops 6 and BO7 storyline. But at this point, the window is open, and then as the camera zooms inside of the snow globe, the screen gets infested with this green glow. And as it moves throughout all of our zombies maps and throughout her bedroom, this green glow, or infection I want to call it on screen, starts to almost affect things around it. The mystery box on Samantha's table opens up, the chess pieces get knocked over, the toys on her floor are pushed back. All the while, we see images on screen appear for a brief second like this. Skulls and zombies. Basically evil. By the way, I did want to ask you guys, because I've never actually stopped and paused throughout each section of this trailer, but what the hell is this supposed to be from? Is this just from the campaign and I've missed it? But either way, it continues throughout all of our zombies maps, back into Samantha's room, out of the snow globe, and then Samantha stands up as she disappears, and another Samantha walks into the room, notices the window is open, and closes it. when the camera is moving in and out of our different zombies maps, I don't think what we are seeing is a camera, but in fact we are looking through the eyes of someone or something. And this isn't the first time we've seen this in Samantha's room. In the Origins intro, you can see Samantha holding something. You would automatically believe it to be a camera. She kind of puts it to her face and then puts it on the ground facing her, and then later on the camera gets knocked over by the dog. But in this instance, I believe we are looking through the eyes of one of our characters, specifically Dempsey. Since he is the one that is missing, they are holding Richtofen, Takio and Nikolai. Dempsey is the only character missing, so I would assume we are looking through the eyes of him. It could be one of the many other characters in our zombie storyline. He just seems the most obvious one, but either way, what I'm trying to say is even in the Origins intro cutscene, we aren't viewing it through a camera, we are viewing it through the eyes of one of Eddie and Samantha's toys. And the dead giveaway is the fact that Samantha uses the camera as a toy, and when it falls over, it lands on its side, almost as if it's on the shoulder of an action figure. And is it a coincidence that in the evil version of Samantha's bedroom, her window is broken, and here when we are looking through the eyes of what seems to be some kind of evil, corruption, the window is open as well? Has it entered the room through the window, and is that the reason why it needs to be closed? But if that was the case, why leave it open at all? I would probably go against this just because Maxis only tells them to make sure the window is locked when they are told to come down to the basement. Maybe it just has something to do with them not being there. When no one is in the room, the windows have to be locked. It's difficult to say why for sure because it would all be a theory, and whatever answer I come up with doesn't really seem to stick. There's always a contradiction that you can find. It might help to give context with this trailer. We see Samantha in her bedroom at the start playing with her toys, and then a few moments later she disappears and another version of her, or the same one if you like, walks into the room. Because this corruption is floating around this version of Samantha, is this the corrupted version of her that we know arrived in the house straight after the Origins ending? The one that Dr. Monty took away and then brought back after he restored her innocence? Are we seeing that play out? This is the corrupted version of Samantha. She is then wiped from existence, and then an uncorrupted version of her walks into the room. The only thing I would say, as the Conorium told us, is it sounded like at least Monty physically took Samantha away himself and then brought her back sometime after, whereas with this, she almost fades out of existence and walks back into the room. It's instant. She doesn't seem to be missing from the house for any point in time. This could also be before the cycle, before the multiverse, before the cycle, before anything. There was a point in time where the world was basically gone to a certain extent. It was the end of time as we knew it. Dr. Maxis was still alive. He saw his daughter Samantha withered in front of him. It was at that point in time Dr. Monty stepped in, and along with Richtofen, the two of them forged the endless cycle. As Monty's plan had been enacted, the world around them began to change, and Samantha was returned back to her father. Although in this scenario we don't see a withered Samantha. Exactly what that means, well, the definition is dry or shriveled, shrunken, or wrinkled from age or disease. To me, when I say it, and especially when they mention the world being scourged, I think of suffering, it being, like I said, destroyed and burned, and as a result of that, Samantha was killed essentially, or was dying. We don't see that represented in this trailer, so that's up for debate. Ultimately, with the house coming back, is any of this even relevant? We don't know the fate of Dr. Monty. Is he still alive or is he dead? He was banished to the Dark Ether, but that doesn't necessarily mean he was dead or that he's still alive. But what interests me is it's such a huge coincidence that Dr. Monty's house just happens to be a safe place again. Out of everything that was banished into the Dark Ether, all of the other houses and locations, it just so happens that Monty's house specifically happens to be the safe house again. I will leave that one there. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.